The first letter arrived without warning. A plain white envelope slipped into the mailbox on a quiet Tuesday morning. On the outside, it looked harmless, the kind of routine notice that homeowners received from time to time. But when the envelope was torn open, what lay inside would ignite the kind of nightmare no one could have predicted. It wasn't a bill or a newsletter or even a reminder. It was an official notice stamped in bold red letters. Violation. Immediate action required. The letter claimed the house, beautiful, ordinary, and cherished, was in direct violation of a homeowners association rule that the owners had never once heard of. A rule buried so deep in the paperwork, it seemed designed to remain hidden until someone wanted to use it as a weapon. At first glance, it seemed absurd, but beneath the absurdity was a darker plan that no one could have imagined. Neighbors whispered about rules all the time. Too many cars in the driveway, paint colors that were too bold, trash cans left visible for one day too long. The HOA thrived on these small battles, policing the neighborhood like guards at a prison yard. But this wasn't about a trash can. The notice alleged that the entire home itself was in violation. According to their claim, the house sat on land improperly approved by the city years ago, and under a subsection of bylaws, the HOA reserved the right to challenge its validity. If the homeowners didn't resolve the issue within 30 days, the HOA claimed they had the authority to foreclose and seize the property outright. It was insane. Who had ever heard of an HOA trying to declare an entire house illegal? Yet the more they read, the more terrifyingly real the threat became. At night, the couple who lived there barely slept. Every sound outside, the screech of a car tire, the slam of a door, felt like a signal that something was happening. And then came the second letter. This one was colder, harsher. It accused them of deliberately concealing the violation, and in its final paragraph, it used a phrase that sent shivers down their spines. Failure to comply will result in legal enforcement, including, but not limited to, foreclosure. That word, foreclosure, echoed like a gunshot in their heads. How could a group of neighbors, an elected board, hold the power to take away their home? But the HOA wasn't bluffing. They were setting a trap. The trap became clear when an emergency meeting was announced. It was held in the community clubhouse, a room with beige walls and cheap folding chairs. But the energy inside felt like a courtroom. At the head of the table sat the board president, a man with a smug expression and a file folder so thick it bulged. As the couple sat down, whispers rippled through the room. Everyone seemed to know something they didn't. The president cleared his throat and read aloud from the file, citing obscure rules, amendments, and addendums, flipping from page to page like a magician pulling endless scarves from a hat. But the sleight of hand wasn't fooling everyone. Buried in the jargon, one thing became clear. The board had been waiting for this moment, engineering it. They weren't just enforcing a rule, they were orchestrating an attack. And then, just when the couple thought the nightmare had reached its peak, another twist surfaced. One of the board members, visibly uneasy, slipped a folded piece of paper across the table when no one was looking. Scrawled on it were just 6 words. Check the deeds from last year. Confused but desperate, they followed the clue. What they discovered in the county's public records changed everything. Just 12 months earlier, the HOA president had quietly pushed an amendment to the bylaws through during a sparsely attended meeting, one with no quorum and no oversight. That amendment, almost laughably specific, gave the HOA power to challenge any property built under questionable municipal approval. The phrasing was vague enough to be dangerous and targeted enough to be obvious. This wasn't about neighborhood harmony, it was about power and money. But the real question was why? Why target this home in particular? That answer came crashing down like a thunderbolt when they dug deeper. The president had financial ties to a developer who had been eyeing the property for years. The land beneath the house wasn't just land. It was a prime corner lot, perfect for expansion, worth nearly 3 times the market value of the home itself. The HOA's supposed rule was nothing but a smokescreen, a weapon forged to pry the house from its owner's hands and deliver it neatly into the developer's grip. The house wasn't the violation, the board president was. And they had something the president didn't expect. Allies. That uneasy board member who had slipped them the note? She wasn't alone. Quietly, several others had grown tired of the president's iron grip and manipulative tactics. They were just waiting for someone to take the first shot. Still, the battle wasn't over. As pressure mounted, the HOA president unleashed a new tactic: intimidation. Anonymous letters showed up on their porch, filled with veiled threats. A car followed them late at night. Complaints against them multiplied. Loud music they hadn't played, lawn violations they hadn't committed. It was psychological warfare. The message was clear: back down or suffer. But instead of breaking, the couple grew stronger. Each attack became fuel. Each new letter was another piece of evidence in a case they were quietly building, not just against the HOA, but against the president himself. The climax came in the form of a lawsuit. The homeowners filed a countersuit accusing the HOA of fraud, intimidation, and abuse of power. The courtroom wasn't a clubhouse anymore. It was a stage with real consequences. As the trial unfolded, the president's arrogance became his downfall. Under cross-examination, his lies unraveled. Records of secret meetings, payments from the developer, even emails where he gloated about finally getting that property, they all surfaced. Piece by piece, the trap he had laid for others snapped shut around him. And when the verdict came down, it was seismic. The court ruled not only in favor of the homeowners, but dissolved the entire HOA board for misconduct. The president himself faced charges of fraud and conspiracy. The neighborhood would never be the same. Some were shocked, others quietly relieved, and a few openly celebrated. The couple, once on the verge of losing everything, had become symbols of resistance against unchecked power. Their house stood untouched, stronger than ever, while the man who tried to steal it watched his empire of control crumble to dust. And yet, even in victory, the story carried an echoing reminder: rules can be twisted, power can be abused, and the biggest threats often come not from strangers, but from the people who live right next door.